An ugly week to the second week of the NFL season is finally over. We'll be highlighting this week's winners and losers from around the league, and we have all the NFL news for you. All of that in 20 seconds. Welcome to the Average Bros Fantasy Show, brought to you by Football Darts and Fantasy Sports Alliance.
Oh, hey, it's me. Hey, guys, how are you? Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Average Bros Fantasy Show. Over the last 2 weeks of the Fanatic Real broadcast, you've seen us bring on Kevin and his brother Josh, and they are here tonight to bring you their first ever episode. So welcome and thank you for showing up. But before we get to them, let's talk about our sponsors. First, we'd like to thank our broadcast sponsor, Football Darts. Football Darts is a dart game that combines the skill of traditional darts with the strategies of American football. This innovative dart game is played on a uniquely designed multiple target dartboard. Unlike traditional British darts, American football darts is a game that combines both the skill of darts and the strategies of football. It can be played in sports bars, at tailgate events, as league tournaments, or as a leisure activity in the comfort of your home. If you would like to check out their officially licensed collegiate dartboards, go to footballdarts.com. Kevin got red all of a sudden. Is he nervous? What's going on with you, Kev?
It's just hot in here. Forgot to put my fan on.
It's because he's wearing a hoodie.
Chris,
Of course I'm wearing it.
the below average bros out there. Thanks, Chris. Jeez. These guys are going to be great. So, hey, before we get to them, let's talk about the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football Podcast. I got the new hat on. I don't know if you guys can see that out there or not. Got it in the mail this past week. They say an empty wagon makes a lot of noise. Listen to our partners, Josh, Eric, and Brad, talk fantasy football on their podcast, the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football Podcast. They are your one-stop shop for fantasy football information and news. The guys talk rankings and projections with a whole lot of comedy. 2 shows this week, the Week 2 preview and the Week 2 recap. So I listened to the Week 2 preview after the games were already done, which I did that quite a bit last year as well. And the best part about it is getting to hear how good and how right these guys are, because you already know the results of it whenever you're listening to it. So it gives you a lot of faith in what they're telling you. Then you have the Week 2 recap where they're also telling you just how right they were whenever they give you their predictions after the fact. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to them this week, make sure you go out and find them wherever you listen to all of your podcasts. Give it a download. You can find them on Anchor at anchor.fm. Go over there, subscribe, download the show, follow them on all of the social media. They can be found at Empty Wagon FF. All right, so you guys have been with me for the last 2 weeks. It's been a pleasure having you come on the Fanatic Real broadcast with me. It's awesome to watch you guys get ready to do your own show tonight. What do you want from me?
Just sit back and enjoy, and just hope that we are slightly above average.
I know you guys already are.
We're getting
Good
there.
luck.
All right, Josh. So first off, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. As always, throughout the show, we will be popping your comments up on the screen so join in, comment, we'll read them off, we'll interact with you guys as the show continues on here. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be starting off with last week's games, Week 2 winners and losers throughout the league. Josh, who did you have as a winner this week?
All right. So first off, on my handy dandy list of winners here, I have Mike Gesicki. He had 31 points with 8 receptions, 130 yards, and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, see, that's a surprising name for me to see, only because of all the the where he plays at the division he's in, and his history has not been so great to be a standout. So I'm glad somebody is finally stepping up there.
Yeah, it's probably the first time that I've actually, seen his name pop up on a high score. So
That's a first for me as well. One of my big winners for this week, a guy that I've been high on throughout the season, and even towards the end of last season, is Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills. 41.98 points within our MFL standings, and he's just been a phenomenal, deep ball thrower. Now he's actually got two outside threats with Stephon Diggs and Brown there, and he's kind of reeled back in his himself from forcing the ball out there and making the poor throws as he did at the end of last season, kind of reeling that back in. For me, on the flip side of things, a loser from this past week is Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, you look at what he did last year with the Saints, stepping in when need be. And, as an organization, they thought, hey, he could be the guy, but thought that his value was maxed out at the point to, let's trade him out. Goes interdivision and then only puts up 3.68 points this past week. So very much underperforming in a heavily quarterback-driven setting as we talk about fantasy here.
Yeah. So for my first loser of the week, should be pretty easy. It's going to be Rob Gronkowski. He flat out had 0 points. And, being with his buddy Tom Brady, even last week, didn't really do much coming off of, sitting for one season. It was one season, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
he only sat out the 1 year.
So coming off sitting for one season, me, I'm not a Tampa Bay fan, but if I was a Tampa Bay fan, you're hoping that he can kind of, brush off the dust and get back into the swing of things with Brady. But for this week, he is one of my losers.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest takeaway for me is they just have so many weapons there. It's gonna be hard for anybody within that offense to stay consistent and stay as one of our winners within the league as we go through. And if you stay with us, we will be mentioning our top dogs for next week. I don't think I will have any Tampa Bay receiver within those, just because there's so many options there with Evans. Cameron Brate got in the mix, listed as the third tight end within Tampa Bay. Just so many weapons there to actually do any damage. So unfortunately, it hurts me a little bit to see Gronk's name there, but well put.
All right. So who'd you have as your second winner, Kevin?
For me, speaking of the Bucs, I did have Leonard Fournette with 28.1 points. Stepping into his own, he came in on a short week last week, being with the team for a short time, I should say, and stepping in week one. So you didn't really see much out of him. You saw very much what you saw within his time at Jacksonville, just not being able to get him involved with the game because of the scheming. This week was the exact opposite. They stepped in. They do have a crowded backfield with Ronald Jones and LaShawn McCoy. Both of them kind of were moot points compared to what Fournette did.
So I'm gonna stop you real quick. Damian Scott right there says, "Do you know who leads the NFL in passing yards?" I
believe it's Josh Allen.
It is Josh Allen. It is Josh Allen. That's your boy right there.
I mean, when you have two deep threats like he's got on the outside, and then being able to having to fear his legs underneath, and making your linebackers press off a little bit and crowd throw a spy in the box, it leaves somebody open over the middle, and with his deep ball strength, it's bound to happen. So. But as far as Fournette goes, Damian mentions again here Rojo in the doghouse. Yes, he missed, muffed the one handoff. And if you're a Patriot, and being led by one, that almost certainly gets you on the bench, if not down to the practice squad when you are filled at the running back position with such talent in Fournette. And on the flip side of the ball, or lack thereof, actually handling the ball is Nyheim Hines, who everyone jumps onto the waiver wire last week, having Marlon Mack out and hurt. Everyone flocks to him, tries to pick him up, and then he puts up a dud. Not even a full point, 0.9 on the week, as the rookie sees the share of the carries, as well as trying to evolve that pass game a little bit more. But not a great start for him. I feel like this is going to be an off week. It's going to be one of those same things where you see as far as the Tampa Bay goes, just so many different ways and weapons that they can use that you're going to be an up and down type of back with Hines here.
Yeah, so going back to your guy Josh Allen, one of my second winners, I had one of his weapons, Stephon Diggs, scored 27.8 points, 8 receptions, 153 yards, 1 touchdown. Just like you mentioned before, the Bills, they're looking to be a strong team this year. They have so many weapons on the outside, lacking a little bit in the running back position. But I think from what I've seen so far, Allen has finally found his number one wideout.
I mean, speaking of Allen, I know Damien's out there watching with us still. If you happen to toss a trade my way, I would love to have him on my squad. I know you wanted to bring that up and talk trade, so that's my target. And if he's not in the package, see yourself out, please. But outside of that,
You know what's even better is if you've already got Josh Allen on your team and you don't have to worry about that.
Oh my goodness.
So not only that, I'm sitting here looking at and listening to you guys as winners and losers. Mike Gesicki on my bench this week. Josh Allen in my starting lineup. Unfortunately, also my starting lineup was Nyheim Hines. I went out and I went out and I believed that waiver wire and went out and grabbed him and started him this week. It cost me a win in 2 of my leagues. So Damien brought up and asked a question if you guys knew who was leading the NFL in passing yards. Interesting fact. Even though Bridgewater only put up 3.68 points this week, he is actually 4th in passing yards in the NFL right now. However, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions is hurting him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the if you look back to last season, that's your oh god, now I can't think of your guys' backup there, Josh.
Taysom?
No.
Backup what?
Quarterback.
Jameis Winston.
Yeah, Winston. That's your Winston effect there. You're 30 for 30. You may get a lot of yards. He led the league last season, but that's all matter of playing from behind and having to make up those big yards. So I feel like that's the same situation there in Carolina. They're usually in a lot of tighter games. You have to throw the ball a little bit, especially with having CMC in there, who is a bigger pass catcher out of the backfield. So that plays a lot into that as well. Who'd you have as your final winner there?
Well, I mean, I need to go over to my second loser first. That'll be pretty quick. It's going to be Will Fuller. Somebody who was expected to take over as the lead guy with DeAndre Hopkins, surprisingly leaving Houston in that ridiculous trade, which actually, never mind. It was still ridiculous. He only had 0 points.
I'm happy for him. If you have a head coach that is going to do that and trade you out and not even try to build around you being their focal point and having a strong arm quarterback, not the strongest arm, but can get the ball down to you, as we saw the past few seasons. To be traded out like that is just a disgrace to me. But as you're saying, Will Fuller, again, very similar to what they've got going on in Tampa Bay. I mean, they've got so many different weapons there as far as receivers go, and none necessarily all that great. I think that they're all slated as 2s on any other team. Fuller, Cooks, Cobb, Stills. They're all kind of journeyman, second man guys. No one has stepped up yet, and it's sad to see that this week Fuller did not do so once again.
All right. So now on to my third winner. We're here now. I have Dak Prescott, 42.3. First of all, with an amazing comeback. 42.3 points, 450 yards in the air. He had 1 passing touchdown and 3 rushing touchdowns. Like I said, amazing comeback.
Yeah, I think that was just poor coaching on the opposite side of the ball. I mean, you guys get to see it twice a year out of Atlanta. We saw it myself in the Super Bowl. I mean,
There
it's
it
just a
is.
streak of bad play call. I mean, how do you just look at a spinning top of a football on an onside kick, knowing that it's got to be coming, you know, in order for them to get back at it? And how do you, as a player, how do you not know where that 10-yard mark is? To watch it, they thinking that the 10-yard mark is not going to be there, and just letting them grab it up from underneath of you is absolutely astonishing.
So let me ask you real quick, Kevin. Were they lined up? I didn't really watch the game. Were they lined up in like onside recovery?
Yeah, they were lined up to receive an onside
Well,
kick.
yeah, that should be the first thing you notice when you go on the field is where's that 10-yard mark? Where can I pick up the ball at?
Well, if you're receiving, you can pick it up anywhere. It's the opposing team. Hey, where
Okay,
can I
yeah,
make
yeah.
sure that I have to box these guys out to not get them?
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that
I'd have flip flopped.
if you're a coach, just before something like that happens too, you pull them off to the side and remind them, hey, this is the scenario that we're about to get into. This is what we're going to face. Make sure you do this and don't do that. And I really popped my head in here because I wanted to mention to Josh, do you think we were really going to make it all the way through one episode without Kevin bringing up New England ended up winning that Super Bowl? Yeah.
Right when I brought up Dallas having the comeback against Atlanta, I knew
Yeah.
it was coming.
Hey, Damon makes a very good point here about the Bills trading out Diggs and the Cards trading out Hopkins. And now when they say go get your guy or when you have a guy and now you've lost both of those and you see what those two teams are. But interesting video, if you can go out and find it for all of you that are out there listening right now. I don't remember. I want to say he was a wide receivers coach on the Cardinals, but I don't know where he was at on the coaching staff for Arizona last year. He walked up to DeAndre Hopkins at a pregame that they played in last year and told him, hey, you're the best in the game right now, right? DeAndre Hopkins says to him, yeah, I know. And then as they walked away, another one of the guys from the Houston coaching staff comes up and says, hey, who was that? And D-Hop says, I don't know. Just some guy from over there says that I'm the best in the game. And then it's funny to see that video now after the trade goes down and where he's at this moment.
Well, if you think about what Damien's saying there, it's the same case on either side of the ball. You look at the Bills, there's a younger team. You have a young quarterback. You know the weapons that he has and what he needs. You go out and get a speedier deep ball guy. And Diggs is coming from a team where they already had Thielen. They got a tight end here or there. They already have a strong running game. So how do we get any better having this piece here? It doesn't really fit in their sense. You just create a poor locker room presence where now he can go pair with a strong arm guy. You're not really moving it on the scale as far as winning percentage goes between the two teams, both right there on playoff teams as far as in the hunt to win their own divisions respectively. So it's a smart football move as far as Buffalo goes, and I think it's just a poor timing situation as far as the Vikings go. And same thing goes on the other side of the ball with Hopkins moving to a younger team, trying to get in the hunt in Arizona.
Answering Damien, the Saints play Green Bay Sunday night.
Yeah, he brings that up because he himself is a cheesehead, unfortunately. One of his many list of poor personality traits.
Listen, I'm not like this guy right here. I'm more humble as a fan. I will say Green Bay has looked amazing this year. So and the way we played last night against Oakland, I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay beats us.
Hey, so I'm going to take a page out of the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football podcast, guys. Josh, I think maybe you and Damien need to put some kind of bet on this. Maybe a pie bet or something like that. Just saying.
Oh my goodness.
And I'll duck back out again.
Damien, if you're still in there, go ahead and comment, see what you think about that. See if you feel confident enough to throw down a bet in place, and we will answer it live here. That way Josh cannot run.
Josh cannot run. See, he's okay. So Damien might be okay with putting out, making a bet or something because he might be confident in his team. I, on the other hand, am not so confident.
So I have a
know.
question to you. Do you think it was just an absence of Michael Thomas, or what do
Oh
you
my
think
goodness.
about
I will say though, the guy who stepped up was unexpected from me. Everybody thought it was going to be Sanders, but it was actually Traquan Smith. Last night we had the game pulled up. Me and Kevin were sitting here watching it. Every time I looked over at it, Traquan Smith is pulling one in.
I
It's
said the same
crazy.
thing. I looked at Misty last night and I go, who is this guy? Every time I look at the TV screen, he's catching a ball.
Yeah, I think it was less as far as missing Thomas and more as the other pieces that are supposed to perform weren't. You didn't see much of Cook. Kamara ran off a couple, but wasn't really involved in the pass game. And then if you look on the other side of things, second week in a row where Sanders does not get involved much in a week that he probably should. If you look at the first and you're talking about Thomas, I mean, Thomas is very much like if you watch the past two Patriots games, an Edelman type guy, just a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, which as it edges him out in overall, skill set. But one of those guys where the ball is going to him, you just can't get there fast enough to stop the play, and that slack is not picked up or reciprocated on the other side. Talking about Emmanuel Sanders,
So my take on everything that happened was one, I feel like the offense in a whole just wasn't there, with the exception of the little drive that Breeze had in the fourth quarter. It just wasn't there. The defense, just about like every season, just shaky, and then just the cherry on top was just penalties, is what killed us. It was, I think, at the end it was like 10 penalties for like 129 yards. It was
Yeah, they definitely had it for 100.
it was ridiculous.
Do you think part of that is the script of Kev? You mentioned that in a game, Sanders probably should have been the focal point or whatever. Maybe the defense was focusing on him, which is why we saw Smith get the majority of the work last night.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that Sanders, with given his age and ability, I don't think he's fast enough to break the double coverage. He's not an inside guy like Thomas is, that can run across the field. He's usually the take the top off type person. So I don't think if you look at what Sanders does, he did what he normally does, and he took the top off, which let everything else that Traquan Smith open up and led him to be more the number one. Where if you look at perspective goes as far as veterans on the team, one might expect Sanders to open the game up, but in reality, he was never going to, just given where he fits within that offense.
So pretty much, well, I know Sanders is kind of like that deep ball kind of guy, but I mean, look at who's throwing to him. Drew Brees is in his 40s, not really known for his arm strength. So that's why I feel like he favors someone like Michael Thomas, where he can run slant routes for days.
Right.
And I wanted to throw a thanks out to Eric out there for giving me confidence and still having Naheem Hines on my team, and how he's going to still do good for the season. And then I got one that I'm going to put up here for you guys, and then I'm going to dip out. This is an interesting one from Damien.
440 for the teams that scored 29 points, 0 turnovers. The Cowboys had 1% chance to win that game heading into the fourth quarter. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, as far as that game goes, I don't think the Cowboys won that game. I think it was just that the Falcons lost it. It wasn't a game that they should have ever been in the position to make that final drive. I think that that's just a poor performance on the Falcons side. A, letting them get that close, and then B, not capitalizing on probably one of the lowest percentage plays within the game with the onside kick.
Yeah, overall with Dallas as a team, I still believe that they're a strong team. So, and just look at the division that they're in, with just like injuries in general. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Washington. Giants just lost Saquon. Eagles, again, injuries. They start to get healthy and then they're back to injuries. So, like, I really wouldn't count Dallas out. Also, because I know my mom's watching and I feel I'm obligated to say such. Exactly.
Who did you have on this week's final loser for yourself?
Oh, I'm glad you remembered that. Final loser is going to be Kirk Cousins. wasn't he like the one that he was like the one like when he first got his deal, he got paid like so much and just did nothing,
Yeah,
right?
he was one of the first big guaranteed money deals. I think it was 100 million guaranteed. The first kind of contract like that over the 5 year span that he went there. Um, but they brought him in for his leadership ability and what they thought that they could take his um, pair with his intangibles to move with his football skill, but it just never came full circle for him.
Keyword thought. Keyword
Exactly.
thought. So he ends up with negative 4.48 points, throwing for 113 yards, no touchdowns, and 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I know that as far as, if you look at, a common theme amongst our losers, outside of our quarterbacks who just don't step up and lead their team, is just the downside of being in potent offenses. If we go ahead and look across, you've got Gronk, Fuller, Hines, all guys that have other weapons there. For me, my final loser for this week is, just the same, Jarvis Landry, only putting up 6 points in a week where both running backs take off and are clicking on all cylinders. And a reversal from last week, you see Odell step in and take the share of the targets, receptions, and leads with the receiving yards to go hand in hand with it. Just something that I think that as far as fantasy owners have to watch, they're going to have to know that that's going to flip week in and week out. Whatever you think that they're going to do one week as far as the offense goes in Cleveland, both out of the backfield and on the field is going to in the pass game rather is going to flip flop. You have two running backs within Hunt and Chubb, who 1 week one could break off over 100 yards, 15 carries. Next week it's going to flip just the same as this week did with Landry. On the opposite side of the same scenario, a guy that capitalized and made up for the offense, um, in its entirety as far as having weapons is Tyler Higbee. 30.4 points this week, 3 touchdowns, just an absolute monster of a game as far as if you think about the evolution of the tight end position goes, and really only having maybe 3 or 4 top tight ends in the league, especially at a fantasy standpoint. It pretty much drops off to where you're looking at an average of 10 to 12 points of being an okay game for a tight end. But when you break off 3 touchdowns, by all means, he's going to be the guy that they're going to target next week as well, being that shorthanded for him.
Mm-hmm. As you can see, Damien says down there, Devontae Freeman signs with the Giants 1 year up to $3 million. I've actually been keeping my eye on him.
That actually brings us right into our NFL news this week as we recap the good, the bad, and the broken as this week's injuries report just piled on.
Yeah, it's been an ugly week too. It's been an ugly NFL season altogether so far. Just like for those who watched last Wednesday night show, it was just about a shopping list. I had to cut a couple people off just to keep it from going on for 10 minutes. And this is going to hurt a lot of fantasy owners, kicking it off with Christian McCaffrey. Just terrible. He's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Saquon Barkley tearing his ACL. He's gone for the season. Nick Bosa tore his ACL, out for the season. CJ Uzoma, if I said his name correctly, torn Achilles, done for the season. Courtland Sutton with the knee injury. He is out for the season. Tevin Coleman has a knee injury. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. Paris Campbell has a MCL/PCL injury. He has been placed on IR, and he's going to be out till at least week 6. Raheem Mostert sprained MCL. It says he's going to be out for this week against the Giants. And after that, there really is no timeline on it. Jimmy G, Jimmy Garoppolo. He has a high ankle sprain, and last I checked on him, he was day to day. So I would keep an eye on him throughout the week. What did it say? He was like doubtful to play this week, Kevin?
Yeah, he's doubtful to play. He's going to be more of a game time decision, lean towards not starting him. And then he is probable for every week after, as far as the time frame for him to return is similar injury to what Michael Thomas faced, as far as him being right up to game time, as far the day of deciding if he's going to play through the. As far as quarterbacks goes, they're not running around as much as receivers, with that ankle sprain. So, higher chance of him playing. But if I was a betting man, I would lean towards not starting him, regardless.
And finishing it off, we have Drew Lock with a sprained AC, and he is expected to miss 2 to 6 weeks. And that wraps up the NFL news. Just rip it off like a Band-Aid.
Yeah, this week, this season rather, has just been a mess as far as those injuries go.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I got one for you guys. Before we move on to your odd men out, and before we let Josh off the hook with this bet with Damien, or possible bet, we've got one from MJ that says that you should shave the beard bet. Now, if I remember right, Damien doesn't have much facial hair anyways. He's still got like that little baby face going on. But how do you feel about that, Josh? Would you shave the beard if
So Kevin knows this, and I'm not as into my beard as he is. I don't care if I shave it off. The only thing that would get me is the little mustache I have here. You take this off, I look like I'm 12.
How would the girlfriend feel about it?
Oh my goodness. She's fine with it. I mean, she's fine either way if I shave it or if I keep it smooth as a baby's bottom.
Yeah, I think we got to come up with something here.
Damien says, how do you feel about CMC and Jimmy G's injuries?
Well, they already did their job as far as I'm concerned. It's next man up mentality here when it comes to the Evil Empire. We already beat Damien, so that's not really going to matter too much. And being a super flex, I already have another quarterback in Brady that I could slide in and pull Jimmy G out. CMC is going to hurt. He still did have a decent week for me, although missing the second half of the game, or the latter part of the game, I should say, as far as that goes. So I will be hitting up the waiver wire. And with that being said, that brings up to our odd man out.
Hold up. Did you ask me how I felt about their injuries? I am hurting from Jimmy G being gone. I'm hurting.
That's true, but he was more pointing towards because I have both of them on my team.
Well, I still have Jimmy G, and he got injured on my team.
Would it matter? Would it matter for you?
My other quarterback is Tom Brady. You tell me that. Does it matter?
Yeah, my other quarterback's Brady, so not really.
That's because he told me to draft both of them. Everybody. That's just because they're expatriates. That's just because they're
combo.
It's biased. They're expatriates.
Regardless.
Now we can go on.
We're going to move on to the segment we like to call Odd Man Out, where we want you guys to pop up in the comments here. We're going to be going over a couple guys that you should sit, some to start, and then anybody that we feel is worth of picking up off the waiver wires for either this week or for the remainder of the season. With this many injuries, I'm sure there's going to be a ton to go over here. Josh, why don't you kick us off? Who do you have going?
I love that comment right there. All right. So just like one of your winners, I have starting Leonard Fournette and sitting Ronald Jones. You didn't see much from Leonard Fournette week 1, as you said before, but week 2 he got more familiar with the playbook. They started to implement him more into the game, and I see them continuing to do it going into week 3.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm definitely a Fournette type guy. He's the type of running that complements Brady and a spread offense well. A guy that you have to respect coming up the middle, or the quick passes on the outside that could still beat you. As far as the game's concerned, Jones may be the more athletic of the two, but Brady is, the type that he's going to stick with his guys, and he's going to expect a certain type of, play set. And I think you saw that more this week than the first week. First week looked very much Bruce Arians-esque, as far as how they were laid out, and you were missing a couple cylinders there, with timing issues. And you're starting to see that evolve this week into more of a Brady-esque. That did work, and it did involve Fournette. I think that trends throughout the season, especially heading into this week with a tougher matchup.
The way I see it, I think I heard it a little bit when we were watching the New Orleans Tampa Bay game. Is Tampa Bay for the past couple seasons, they haven't really had a true quarterback, and now they get somebody as a big of a name as you can get in the game right now, in Tom Brady. And they got a little taste of what it's like to have an actual quarterback, and you need to trust him, and that he's got his guys that he's going to pick out from the team that will start to shine.
Yeah, for me, it's just that shine factor that leads me into my first start, which is going to be Deontay Johnson. I feel like he's Pittsburgh's new, shiny toy. He's going to be their bigger number one. I think that he's the more versatile receiver, and for that reason, I'm sitting Juju. I think he falls back into his role as the number 2 slot-esque guy. I think that he's going to be your more matchup friendly type of receiver. As far as where am I looking? Team is more corner driven and cut off the top of the field from Johnson. But as far as this week, them playing Houston, I think that you're going to see a very similar feel in Houston's defense coming out, as you saw them play against the Chiefs in week 1, which bodes very well for that deeper 15 to 20 range to open up for Johnson. So he is my start of the week there.
All right, moving on to my next start, as old as it gets, in Tom Brady. Yes, like I said, I'm more of the humble person. I give respect where respect is due, but don't worry, I have my eyes glued to the records. I don't care what rings say. I don't care what the rings do. I have my eyes glued to records. But we're gonna go in. Oh, get out of here! All I need is
Just
this.
saying.
All I need is this.
Bud.
80,000's coming right around the corner.
Please.
So next, I am saying, oh goodness, speaking of Patriots, I'm going to sit Kirk Cousins, just from what I was saying before. Acceptable. And I'm going to start Cam Newton. It takes, actually, after seeing what I saw last night, the Raiders don't have a terrible defense, but Cam, he's been looking really good in his first 2 games, especially after coming off of missing just about a whole season, and with Cam being more of a mobile QB, with Vegas's run defense looking a little faulty, I expect Cam to use both his legs to, get the points that you need running wise, and also use that strong arm and get the deep ball off. Because I tell Kevin every day that when you have that dual threat quarterback who can throw it down the field and use his legs as well, it helps out fantasy wise.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is going to be a big one to watch to see what Cam does against a more stout defense as you saw them throw down against the Saints last night. But one thing I was definitely watching was that a lot of the screen-esque plays, a lot of the outside runs to Kamara, the plays that took a little bit of time to develop, which goes right into Cam's wheelhouse, is when the play starts to break down, can he get outside against that defense? And if not, I'm looking at the strength. Can they keep up for that longer period of time and go after your receivers, say 5, 6, 7 seconds after the placement started and the quarterback still has the ball, versus if you look at a Brady era type play, it's gone and over with within 4 seconds, one of the faster releases in the league. But if I'm watching this week, as I mentioned before, Traquan Smith, that underneath guy that took a lot of pressure off of Sanders cutting the top of the field, lands right into Edelman. So that bodes well on Cam's side in throwing off the throwing, in addition to respecting his legs in the ground game. And yeah, I agree right there with Damien. He says, if he gets that last rushing touchdown, you're talking about 2 the first week, 3 this week, on the ground. So I think that and he had 15 rushes the first week. Damien saying that he could have 15 rushing touchdowns all season. I think he can. I think he's right back to that form, and I think that he's developed his arm in that off year to where people will have to now respect both very much too early on Russell Wilson, to where he ran a little bit more than developed the arm. Cam's not there yet as far as the arm goes, but I think he's well on his way to being that guy.
I have a question for you two brainiacs. So he's leading the team in rushing right now, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who really?
That's not a surprise.
Yeah. Who is really the number 1 running back in New England?
As far as rushing totals go, I'm going to, I know it's not Sony. He hasn't been that well off. Based on the past 2 weeks, I'm probably going to say it's been Burkhead as far as yardage and carries goes. If I'm going to say who is the stronger back fantasy-wise to throw out there, it's going to be James White when he returns to the field. Prayers definitely going out to his family as he missed last week's game, having both his mother and father in a car accident, his father passing. But outside of that, I think that White's the fantasy play there out of their backfield. If we're talking strictly running backs and not, as Bill mentions here, in Cam being the number 1 running back, I think you got to slate James White first.
Looking at it from a fantasy standpoint, I kind of agree with Bill. He's already shown it that Cam is the big rushing presence that they have right now. So from a fantasy standpoint, I would, like me personally, I would steer clear from New England's running backs.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I have the choice to pick one or not
pick
one, I'm not picking any of them. As far as being on my team outside of a deep flex, if I have to fill an injury void. But if I had to rank them as far as where I see them falling within the depth chart, fantasy perspective, it's going to be White first because of his catching ability. Burkhead with his running. I don't think Sony is 100% the way that they've been playing him. He's been more limited to what I've seen. And then obviously, I'm a big Damian Harris guy. When he comes back, he's eligible to come back in week 4. I think he will, take the cake and be the new number 1.
So just so we're all aware, because I didn't know until I looked it up, outside of Cam, rushing yards so far for the year for New England, Sony Michel does have 56. Burkhead 34. My apologies. J.J. Taylor 27. James White, we know he missed last week, 22 yards. But of that group, Rex Burkhead with 47 yards receiving on 4 catches. Ryan Izzo 44 yards on 3 catches. James White 30 yards on 3 catches. But I would agree with you. I think once you get White back on the field, as far as depth charts go, if you're taking a true running back position, I think he's probably the number 1 there as well.
Yeah, and Izzo's actually their tight end that missing a true fullback. They try to slide him back there as well as Jakob Jacobs, the former rugby star. So it's kind of a flip flop between the two just to mix up the offense, as Bill likes to do. But as far as my next start, it's got to be another quarterback that's showing off. And I'm going to say to start Gardner Minshew. I got to believe in the stash. Second week, only getting better as the season goes on. Not terrible last year as a rookie, but you got to look at the mess that he was thrown into. I think that he's going to play well this week with a more favorable matchup than my sit of the week being Baker Mayfield. Um, I just think that poor matchup against Washington's defense. I think they're going to be all over him. He's a guy that likes to hold the ball a little bit longer than he should. As far as thinking that he can run, which he really hasn't shown to be that big of a threat. But Washington's front line is probably the best in all of football right now, outside of the Ravens, maybe the only one that can top them with their rookie Patrick Queen.
Awkward silence now.
So as we're talking about these injuries, who were you looking at, Josh, as far as somebody to pick up off the waivers to possibly fill the void of either an injury or an underperformance, as we just went over?
All right, so Kevin, for some odd reason, I like him as a quarterback. I'm gonna have to go with look to pick up Nick Mullins. Jimmy Garoppolo is considered doubtful for this week, and from there on out, I guess questionable. So for this week, starting out, Nick Mullins could be a good safety net for anybody who, like, if you absolutely need a quarterback in the position that I'm in, where Jimmy G was in my starting lineup, he's injured. So me personally, I would go to look for Nick Mullins as a replacement for this week.
Yeah, for me, I'm not that hurt yet. Sitting at the top dog spot as far as number one out of the 72 listed FSA members currently playing. I'm not jumping on the Mullins wagon just yet. But if you do have him or are hurt bad enough to where you are looking to go that way, maybe if you're a lock owner or if you have a Kirk Cousins, I may say, hey, go out and grab him, but you know, a good week one fill in. They do have a matchup against the Giants this week where it could lean his way, where he could head out and have a decent game. But I think this is one of those fill-ins that it could be a big bang for 1 week, but don't try to hold on to him too long.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I see it. Is I would just look for him this week, and Garoppolo is going to be back anytime, at any moment, with the exception of this week. So the higher you are, the harder the fall.
He is referring to the evil empire taking its throne at the number one spot. And congratulations to Damien for cracking the top 25, sitting at 23 currently, I believe. But, you're not going to catch me, bud. Thank you for the week one win. And I do hope you keep winning because that does help me out as our new power rankings works out. But, you're in the dust, bud. And for me, as far as the guys that I'm looking to add, is actually on the opposite side of that matchup as far as Nick Mullins goes this week, and it's going to be Dion Lewis out of New York. Even though they added Freeman, I don't think that he's going to get enough into the week as far as playbook goes to be really involved if he suits up at all, to be a factor for me, especially with Dion Lewis being a pass catcher out of the backfield to kind of spread themselves out a little bit. He's a guy that I'm looking to go towards as far as ads this week on the waiver.
So the Broncos did make it official, because I know they said they were interested in him.
Yeah, the Broncos do sign him. I believe it was pending a COVID and physical test. I believe both of those did pass. They have come out and said that Bortles, I believe, is going to be the backup, but I believe this is a safety net in case Locke does not come back as timely as they presume him to. I don't believe he's going to be the starter there anytime soon.
Speaking of people coming back, George Kittle says that he could return week 3. It's kind of on a day-to-day basis. So for all the people who do own him in your leagues, I would keep an eye on him as the week goes on.
Yeah, I think that, as far as the as far as it looks, fantasy wise, anyone within the San Fran goes is going to be pushed to get back just because of how hurt they are and how stout that division is when it comes to looking up and down. Damien threw it out earlier, looking at Russell Wilson stats and him having an MVP season. You look at the Rams looking like they are the same Rams that went to the Super Bowl a couple years past.
Not the Rams that were in the Super Bowl, the Rams that went to the Super Bowl. I just want to clear that up.
The Rams that got there.
Yes.
I don't know what Rams showed up, but as far as they go, and then I don't think that Jordan Reed is necessarily going to be a 1 week wonder. I think with a weaker receiving core, they may try to get him involved in some 2 tight end sets when Kittle comes back. But when Kittle is back, Jordan Reed will step into the more of the blocking back role or the blocking tight end role versus chipping out to catch those passes that Kittle does. So I wouldn't lean on him and make him your only tight end in any league if you've got him, but definitely not a flex spot to hold on to, especially in deeper leagues such as Dynasty goes with the extra bench spots. Good, so we want to try out something new here as far as the average bros go, and kicking off our inaugural episode here. We are going to track the top dog each week in and out as far as the NFL is concerned. What we're going to do, Josh, is I want you to give me 2 players, a quarterback and a flex, and we're going to keep a tally. As far as how we do picking who we think is going to be the top dog week in and week out, if you do pick the top dog, you get 2 points. If you just simply outperform the other guy, being myself, that's 1 point, and we'll see how we end up along the way.
All right, so kicking it off at the quarterback position, I'm going with Kyler Murray. He's really building the connection with actually both Fitzgerald and Hopkins, being as he's still sort of getting his feet wet. He had 230 yards week 1, 286 yards week 2 with a touchdown in each of those games. They're going up against a 0-2 Detroit defense, and I'm hoping that he can light it up against them.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this one's a no-brainer. The guy that I take to be as the top dog this week, and everyone else that's out there watching in the comments, let me know who you're going to take as far as being the top scorer at the quarterback position for week 3. To me, it is looking like the MVP so far in Russell Wilson. I can't bet against Russ. Once he starts cooking, he's cooking. Saw that firsthand, Sunday night. Having an absolute monster first 2 games, and to beat up on the defensive player of the year from a season ago and Stephon Gilmore as much as he did with DK Metcalf. I mean, they look like they're in midseason form already. To me, I look to see Wilson having the top scoring as far as quarterbacks go.
Okay, yeah, Seattle's playing Dallas. I think that just that game alone should be really good. Both of Dallas's games have been high scoring. So, but you never know. This week for me, in one of my leagues, I had Lamar Jackson starting and Joe Burrow sitting on the bench, and Joe Burrow outscored him. So it could go either way.
Yeah, for me, that the biggest thing is when you look at Burrow is just the fact that he's gonna have to keep passing, as far as the standpoint of just the straight off game goes. Yes, they do have a decent run game, but when you're playing from behind in most games because of poor defense goes, I'm gonna look to have at least slightly above average fantasy days.
So I wanted to butt in here for a second. Bill had posted just a little bit ago that Murray has been on fire lately. Only an idiot would trade him. I do believe earlier today I saw a trade go down in the FSA League where Bill III did in fact trade Murray away to Damian. So I'm not sure which one I should be saying congratulations to, but one of the very first and few trades that we get to see in the redraft league of FSA. So congratulations, guys.
Can we get by Brian? I was gonna say, can we get more details on what the trade was for?
I sure can. Give me just a second and I'll pull it up for you guys. I've got it sitting right here. There was a 3-player trade between the Mad Scientists, which are owned by Damian Scott, and the Merman, which is owned by Bill III. Mad Scientist gave up Derek Carr, Joe Mixon, and Scott Miller. And the Merman gave up Kyler Murray, Alan Lazard, and Allen Robinson. Details for the whole trade.
Yeah, I will say though, Derek Carr looked really nice last night.
I mean, Derek Carr's very Stafford-esque to me. I mean, we all know he's got the big arm and he can keep you in big games. But as far as being a leader week in and week out, I still don't think you can really depend on him, to put up any type of numbers. I think that his football IQ is still not all there. I don't know if that has to do with coming back from the injury still, or depending on the running backs that he does and not having to read into too much too often, and also having a more dictatorship-esque coaching staff and not giving him the allowance to go ahead and do so as far as reading everything goes on his own, just single read offense. But for me, he's not a top guy. And we got MJ saying, I don't know how you feel about this, Josh. As far as set it and forget it, just let it go. Outside of injuries, no real changes to your lineup. How do you feel about that?
I don't even know.
I tend to do the same, especially in a redraft situation where 12 teams, your bench does look a little bit depleted once you get that deep, to where the only real change you might make is at a flex spot or quarterback matchup to go outside of the super flex and throwing in a quarterback goes. Outside of that, I'm right there too. I'm not really making any trades unless it's worthwhile and I'm getting Josh Allen and not having to trade DeAndre Hopkins out. Other than that, not really doing too much.
So I'm going to go down to Damien's comment here, just because Saints fan. Carr can't throw it to anyone other than Waller. How the Saints couldn't stop that is beyond me. That's because every season it looks like we bring in more and more studs that could help out on the defense, especially in our secondary, and it just doesn't work. Our secondary is I can't even answer for them. Our run defense even looked bad last night.
Well, the other issue is that they hid Ruggs well. He's a smaller receiver as far as height goes, so they were hiding Ruggs underneath, and every once in a while picking off those short plays to him outside on the sidelines that kept stretching out drives. And then once you do that, you have to fear Ruggs getting behind you, because we know that he does have that that second gear speed, to where Waller was making almost a very Gronk-esque play and running everything underneath and running through everybody and picking up a high yards after the catch feel for the week. But we do have Brian popping in. His top dog as far as the quarterback position goes is Matt Ryan against Chicago's defense, with a lackluster performance from Julio last week. I don't know how well he's going to bounce back to get everything clicking to be a top dog outside of the guys that we mentioned, but definitely one of the higher scoring quarterbacks as far as the league goes.
Just what Brian said here. Julio had an off week, but I mean, let's talk about Calvin Ridley. What was their third string? Justin Gage. I think he had over 100 yards, if I'm not mistaken. So Matt Ryan, he can get all the other receivers involved. It's not just going to be Julio.
Yeah, and talking about these second or third stringers as far as where you're looking at for guys to stand out, who is your flex top dog of the week? We're looking at wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends. Who's going to stand out?
All right. So in my flex position, I know that they're kind of on a shared workload here, but either way, they both still shined. I'm going with Nick Chubb. 124 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. And then this week they're going up against the Washington football team. And they gave up 160 yards and 2 touchdowns to the Cardinals. And at the caliber that Chubb's playing at right now, I feel like he could easily put up numbers like that. Maybe not 160 on his own. Like I said, he's sharing the workload with Hunt, but I think that he can put up decent numbers.
Yeah, Damien says that his flex player of the week is going to be DJ. I believe that's supposed to be a Chark in Chark. But I highly doubt that. If you're looking at guys that are standing out, I don't think that it's going to be him.
Wait, are you talking about Chubb or Chark?
Chark.
I mean, they are going up against Miami.
Yeah, but Miami hasn't been that bad to let up somebody. The 2 games that you've watched them play, it's been it's been a full football effect. It hasn't been really one top guy. You're looking at Josh Allen running and throwing, being the top guy there, and then Cam running and throwing the week prior. So
Brian says he's going out on a huge limb, and I feel like the whole theme of this week has been tight ends. So he's going. I don't even know how to say his name. Is it Jonnu?
Yeah,
Jonnu Smith. Yeah, we were actually talking about him. What was it, last night, Kevin? I saw him come up on like top scorers, and I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah, I believe as far as the MFL standings goes on player scorings, I believe more tight ends this week hit 30 plus points or even the 25 plus range overall than receivers did. So that's definitely not a bad pick there, Brian, going tight end as the flex spot. For me, I'm going opposite you, Josh. You took Kyler Murray as your top dog in the quarterback spot. For me, I'm going DeAndre Hopkins as number 1. I think they're going to take the top off the field against Detroit. I don't think he's going to be able to be stopped as far as overall receptions goes. I think you're starting to see that matchup as far as the marriage between him and Murray goes, gel a little bit more week over week. And Detroit, for me, is the perfect team to do it against.
Lutz is my flex.
I mean, I can't disagree there. You guys do have to kick a lot since, Thomas isn't there to punch it into the end zone. So
I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. Touche.
Fact checking you here, you are absolutely correct. The top 3 tight ends for this past week all scored above 30 points. The number 1 wide receiver this week was 29.9.
Yep.
Was it just 3 tight ends over 30?
Yeah, just the 3 over 30. It ended up being Darren Waller with 32.3, Mike Gesicki at 31, and Tyler Higbee at 30.4. Top wide receiver was the mention when I put up Calvin Ridley just a few minutes ago. He ended up being the top wide receiver last week with 29.9.
Yeah, so it's not completely impossible for a tight end to walk away with it again.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's trending You saw this a couple of years ago in New England when they ran a lot of two tight end stuff. Even after the fact when they had Gronk there, we're going into, if you look at this year's past draft classes, a lot of younger, smaller receivers that have to kind of learn their roles. Even if you look at the bigger receivers in DK Metcalf, didn't have a bad year last year in a rookie outing, but wasn't the monster that he's become this year as far as stepping up and learning the ins and outs of the position and getting his route running down. Whereas your tight ends, they're a little bit more honed in because their offensive playbooks are a little bit smaller as far as what they're asked to do. So for me, I'm right there with you. I think that tight ends are going to continue to shine throughout the season.
So I'm assuming this is in relation to our top dog. A flex is just it's just anything running back, receiver, tight end.
Yeah, so we're going anything not quarterback. We're considering a flex. So we're taking the top the top quarterback as our top dog. And who do we think is going to be the highest scoring quarterback? And then our flex is our highest scoring player that's not a quarterback, regardless of position.
Yeah, so could even take a defense if we wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're, holding somebody to 10 yards and 3 interceptions, I doubt that within our current settings is going to be a defense.
I'll end up doing it one week.
Huh.
Hey,
Depends.
pay me
We'll
the
have
right
to see.
amount.
We'll have to see who it's going to be. So that wraps it up for this portion of the show. You got anything else for us there, Brian?
Hey, I'm back. What's up, guys? Well, first off, let's get that banner off your head because I really want to see your pretty forehead. So,
Oh my goodness.
There we go.
yeah, Damien, that hurts just a little bit. Yeah, so I did sit Chubb this week in favor of Joe Mixon on the Thursday night football game. The guy that I ended up playing, this was in the Alpha Dynasty League. The guy ended up playing Sean Purcell down here in the South Atlantic region with us. We had a little bit of a conversation about it, trying to figure out why I did that. I really did believe it was going to be a case of 50-50 on the running backs because it was a short week for them. We still haven't really seen who is the top guy there because I think the week previous they were only 2 carries away from being 50-50 anyways. And I just thought that, again, because of the short week and the lower scripted game plan, that Cincinnati was going to probably have to run a whole lot more. I actually had them to win the game, so I ended up picking Joe Mixon over Nick Chubb, and it cost me the win in the Alpha League this week. I think that was probably the only difference in the game. I think I would have won if I had started Chubb. So, no, great show, guys. What do you got that's left over?
I just want to thank everybody for definitely checking us out here on our scheduled broadcast Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock, with myself and my average bro, Josh, over here, which I pointed to the wrong direction.
Put your hand the other way.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I do the same thing. Sometimes I'll go like this to go to you, and I'm like, wait, no, it's this way.
Hey, so the guys will be back next Tuesday, which will be the 29th of September at 8 p.m. So remember that their show on Tuesdays are going to be at 8 o'clock. The Fanatic Real broadcast will be on 8:30 on Wednesday nights. You can check us out on that show tomorrow. Kevin, you going to join me tomorrow?
Yes, I will be there.
Josh, you want to come on the show tomorrow?
It's up if you guys want me there. It's up to you guys.
Ask the girlfriend first. The wife already knows that I'm doing it on Wednesday night, so it's a done deal. So just ask her, make sure she's okay with that.
She should be at work tomorrow night, so I'm free anyways.
Perfect. Yeah, if you've got nothing else better to do, come on with us. Kevin with that daggone cup. Hey, so we will be on tomorrow with the Fanatic Real broadcast. That we will have a happy hour again on Sunday. Damien, please let everybody know why they should come out here to the happy hour on Sundays. And then these guys will be back on the 29th of September at 8 p.m. for the second episode of the Average Bros Fantasy Show. Hey, good news. we made it all the way up to over 100 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and then we were under 100. But then good news, we were 100 again. So the good thing is now we can host both the Fanatically Real broadcast and the Average Bros Fantasy Show on both Facebook and YouTube. And we're going to start doing that tomorrow night during our show. If you're watching this right now and you still have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go over and look at Fantasy Sports Alliance. Find us, do the YouTube search in there, and you will find us. I think just before we came on the show, we were at 101, I think. So make sure you go out there and add to that total. And we will be live on both shows. And we will be taking this show tonight because it's only on Facebook. And we will drop it over onto YouTube. And we will make sure that we have, I don't know if it's a channel under a channel or a set of folders for you guys or whatever, so that way everybody knows where to come find your awesome faces. And then also, done live, don't miss. Oh, great discussion, even better debates and trades. Get done live, don't miss out. That is why you want to come over to the happy hour on Sundays. Yeah, trades happen during happy hour on Sundays now. I think alcohol might be involved. Also, yeah, follow us on all of our other social medias. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, of course. Hey, do you guys have any of your own handles that you would like to give out? I know Josh is kind of for Josh. I went this way. Josh is this way. Josh has kind of gotten out of the whole social media world. We need to bring you back. Yeah, we need to bring you back in though. Kev, what about you? Do you got anything out there?
I do not really currently. Nothing too active. Everything I kind of keep within the groups from my personal page that I'll share out there. But that will probably change within the near future. Now that you mention it.
Yeah, I think we should probably all make sure that happens amongst. Hey, look, that's all of the social media stuff down there right there. That's good stuff. Thanks, Kev. So if you didn't know where to find us, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, YouTube, and that's our website right there too. So make sure you go out and check that out. In a couple of weeks, you're going to see some changes to that. So make sure you go and take a peek at that. Bill says, I feel attacked. Why do you feel attacked, Bill? Because you made the trade during happy hour? Maybe you did have some alcohol in you, and maybe you shouldn't feel attacked. Maybe you should just not drink alcohol during happy hour.
Blame it on the alcohol.
That's what I do.
That's what they all do.
Let's see, what else do we got? Group me. If you are a Alliance player and you're not inside the Group me chat, make sure that you go over and join that. You are there now, right, Josh? Did we get you in there yet?
I don't know.
Kevin can invite you, and I'm pretty sure.
No, I can't. I tried today.
Did earlier to invite you. If he didn't, I don't know what to tell you. I think it's probably brotherly love.
Meaning there is no love.
Yeah, you guys are great together. All right, let's wrap this thing up by thanking all of our sponsors. Thank you to Finger Lake Mercantile and Brandon Gums. He is the guy that does all of our video editing for us. However, we have worked him out of a job by being able to put these things on Facebook and YouTube. But Brandon also does some great work for us on other media type things, and we're going to get him to start doing some more merchandise for us. So Brandon, thank you, working hard on the website for us as well. Football Darts and Jonathan Davies, the owner of Football Darts, they are our broadcast sponsor for our Wednesday night broadcast. Nature Coast Tailgating and Brandon Valinka, he is our World Championship sponsor. If you win the FSA World Championship this year, you will get a custom cornhole board with bags. Kevin's already talking about how he's going to have everybody in the league sign his board for him before it gets delivered to the house. Thank you to Deep South Creations for being a bowl sponsor this year. Southern Sirens Sugar Scrub for being a bowl sponsor. QB54 for sponsoring the Arm and Leg League with us and giving out a great set of QB54 chairs. Cranky Veteran Candle Company for being a bowl sponsor. And, of course, you get to hear the intro music every week thanks to the Recast, who are the official music of the FSA. What's Kevin doing over there?
I was trying to make sure I didn't miss any trade offers by Damian. I know that he was trying to get one done while we were alive here, but I have not seen Josh Allen slide onto my team yet, so that's probably not going to get done.
Kev, why don't you take us out of here for the night, brother?
Well, I thank everybody for tuning in to our first show. Check us back here, as we mentioned, next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. And everyone have a great night.